What is happening, budget builders, and welcome back to the channel. Here behind me we have a Mark I Rabbit pickup truck, or in many parts of the world known as the Volkswagen Caddy. We pulled this truck out of a junkyard after it had been forgotten there for many years. The original 1.6 liter naturally aspirated diesel was completely toast, and we installed a 1.6 liter turbo diesel along with a 5-speed transmission. We then put a 6-inch lift on this thing, some really cool 26-inch all-terrain mud terrain tires, roll bar lights, bumpers. There's a few more things to dial in. We have a replacement injection pump because that one is weak. We're then going to strip this disgusting interior out to start building our new interior. And at the end of this video, we're going to take this front-wheel drive truck and see if we can go off-roading. Now, the first thing that I want to go ahead and do with this truck is let's go ahead and get that old tired injection pump swapped out. You know, this is a 1.6 liter eco diesel, which is a turbo diesel, but it runs a little bit smaller turbo, smaller injectors, which we've replaced, and the NA style injection pump. Let's put a turbo diesel injection pump on it. That thing, you gotta keep it pumped up, it leaks back, and it's just kind of pitiful. It got us going, but I think with that pump on there, it's gonna be pretty happy. And they say with that smaller eco diesel style turbo on there, these things are super fun in traffic and everything. They spool up pretty quick, even though they don't make as much boost. But that pump definitely needs to be replaced. You will also notice that front end is sitting kind of back up where it's supposed to be, and that is because we went ahead and put a set of heavy-duty Bilstein shocks on the front of this thing, or struts. I think it is going to make a huge difference in the way that this thing feels and handles. Went ahead and put those Mark II coils back on this to bring that height back up where we wanted it. We're 4 inches of lift up there. And with that, we did go ahead and do a new set of strut caps with bearings, so they're not clunking around and bound up like they were. And we do new wheel bearings, which a lot of people had mentioned might as well do that because they were definitely not happy anyway. So all that up front is fresh. Let's knock this injection pump out really quick. And here we go. This is a turbo diesel pump. Now it looks really clean because I did already take the time with a toothbrush to go through and degrease it and clean it up everything. But you can see it's actually been rebuilt. Now the biggest thing with these is you always see these things listed, and my goodness, they're everywhere between $400 and $900. All of them say used, unknown condition. They're course for rebuild. So if I'm gonna buy a used, unknown condition, I'm gonna buy we found a $275 one, which is super reasonable for these and well worth a core, because any core is gonna cost more than that. And it looked good. It probably won't work, but it's worth taking the hour to swap it out. Out with the old and in with the old. It's a different old though. Now the reason I didn't show you this process is because we did it when we did the timing belt in the first place, but if you remember, down there in the porthole, we got our notch lined up. We're flat across the cam on the number 1. Compression stroke, both lobes up. Pump is lined up where it's supposed to be here, and the gear is lined up as well. So we should be good. Diesel.
Oh, yeah. This was going up. It looked like it was coming from the pump, but it just hitting the pump.
Go ahead. That's a way stouter pump. I just want to take a quick second to tell you about the sponsor of today's video. I know with tax season here, finding the right tax guy can be difficult. A really great friend of mine and his team have put together a free marketplace connecting taxpayers with qualified tax professionals nationwide. With Tax Titans, you receive competitive quotes on the cost of your tax return. Whether you are a small business, an entrepreneur, or have a side hustle, go to www.tax-titans.com and use referral code BUDGETBUILDS when creating a free account. You can find a link down in the description. Now back to the video. Now, as much as I love the piles of rotten leaves and this beautiful green shag moss, I think we should probably clean this interior out a little bit. It is That many years with no windshield definitely has done it in. I am truly surprised at just how nice the carpet actually is in here. No, in all seriousness, I have not ordered carpet for this thing yet because I'd kind of like to try to clean this. Yeah, I'm not sure why. The aftermarket sets never fit in quite as nice. They never look as nice as the original. We're gonna pull this one out. We obviously have floor work to do, and while we have it, I will attempt to clean it up. It may come down to just replacing it, but I think it's kind of worth a shot. Floor's really nice in the front, other than being dented in. There we go, I fixed it. It is just crazy to me that this carpet withstood 20 plus years, no windshield, out in the elements in that little truck. I'm still not sure why we're trying to save it, but I really do want to attempt it. Oh, you're sideways.
Huh?
You're sideways.
What am I sideways?
Hit, take record off.
Oh, how do you do that?
Well, everything out of there, chipped away all that sound deadening and everything, and definitely snowballs a little bit. There's more rust there than we thought, but to think this thing sat 20 plus years out in the open with no windshield, no windows, it looks pretty good. Our fronts are actually really solid. Our main focus is going to be in the rear, just because I think everything kind of puddled to the rear. That water sat in the back here, but thankfully it looks like they did drill holes at some point in time, because this must have been a lake for a little while. But again, not too bad. I think our main thing, we'll kind of wire brush, clean the front up. We pulled up most of that sound deadening. We're going to focus on replacing the rear floors, and then we'll pour 15 or coat it. We need to do some rust prevention. Let's get it all coated really good. We'll put some sound deadening, then we can go back in with our carpet. But let me show you what we're going to do as far as our flooring. Here we have the rear section out of a pickup truck. It was actually half of a pickup truck that we had, And here we have the front section that was half of a GTI, which is kind of a shame. A car that was this nice and this solid. I'm thinking it was probably wrecked in the front and the truck was wrecked in the rear. These were actually joined together very poorly, and we have something really cool planned out for the back of the truck later on, but this is a really good parts car. Pretty disappointed, but somehow in the mix of things, I did lose all of our footage from actually welding in our floor pans. As I had showed you, we pulled the pieces out of our parts car, welded everything in, and I don't like leaving any gaps or anything, so we spot welded all the way around, and I filled every bit of it in just like we would a body panel on the side of the car, cleaned it up, and then we seam sealed over every joint, and then finished our entire floor off with this rust barrier from Duplicolor. This treated any of the surface rust that we had left that we went through and wire brushed and cleaned up, and this is gonna be a really good barrier to protect that floor from here on. With the top side done up here, everything is nice and dry, sealed in, and it looks really good. By far not perfect, but it is solid, and this is going to last for years and years and years of driving and enjoying this truck. Went ahead, cleaned everything else up, and now we can go ahead and move up underneath where we can wire brush all of our joints, get everything loose knocked, and we'll go ahead and actually hit everything because I want to go ahead and seal and undercoat every bit of the floor pan here so it's nice and protected. Now, maybe a touch overkill, but that stuff is the Amazon special stuff. It's relatively inexpensive. We didn't spend a half hour. It makes a massive difference in the interior, especially when we're riding around on those knobby little tires. Our next step, we are going to be putting the Mark II dash in here. I really like Mark II dashes. I think they look great. Early Westmoreland dashes or Euro dashes look awesome, but this was a late and definitely not my favorite dash. These are pretty cool though, and I think this one's got a couple little cracks on top. We'll put the little carpet over top of it once we get it all in there. I've seen some people do this, not many do. We've got to do some trimming on these lower brackets here to kind of make room to fit everything in, and otherwise we might have to create our own brackets a little bit to mount the knee bar, but I think it's gonna be pretty cool. All right, we'll be putting a column in this.
Wow, that's tough.
Are you all right? When we're coming through bolting, I'm not sure you can see, but the studs are just a little too short up on the inside. So what we'll be using is this little shank or step nut, and we'll be able to run that up in there, tighten it down, and that'll hold our dash in place there. Bonk. And then I'll be running a screw into our original brackets. We went ahead and painted everything so it's nice and sealed. That dash in place, I have a ton of wiring that needs to get deciphered and figured out, but it'd be nice to have something to sit on. So our next step is to figure out the seat. If you think 80s pickup truck, gotta have a bench seat. I'm sure you noticed we did remove the emergency brake there, and that's because we're gonna relocate it up underneath the dash. So we can put a bench seat in. Now this is just a rear seat from a Rabbit. and it fits perfect. It looks good. We just have to make brackets for it. Now, I want to give a big thank you to my friend Will. These things have gotten really hard to find, and so he actually hooked us up with this one. It is blue, but it's pretty neat. We'll probably go ahead and dye it black for now, but down the road, we'll end up recovering it and everything, especially as we make the interior a little bit nicer. But for the time being, our main goal is getting everything figured out. Now, another reason that we decided to go with this is, you know, the original seats are bucket seats. They kind of sit high and they sit tall, and they make these trucks, especially when you're 6 foot tall like I am, pretty uncomfortable. I've have a lot of miles behind the steering wheel of one of these. Definitely the nicest one, the most comfortable one that I had, you can put sports bolsters in here that are a little bit more comfortable, and then I had racing seats in one that was pretty nice. But supposedly a bucket seat like this is great because it sits really low, you can lean it back really nice, and it makes these interiors really comfortable. And it's just kind of got that cool 80s pickup truck look. So let's go ahead and start figuring out our brackets. Beautiful. I've never tried it. We're gonna try the Duplicolor vinyl and fabric flexible finish stuff. And I gotta say, I've never tried it, but I did shoot a little spot on the back here. And I mean, even scraping it with my finger, nothing comes off and it stays there. So I don't know, with this big old butt, it'll probably wear it right back off, but it'll look okay for now. So let's get it out in the sun. We've already degreased it. We'll take some Scotch-Brite, scuff it down really good. You do I think 3 coats of this stuff, 8 to 10 inches away, light coat. Let's try it out and see how it does. I guess I shouldn't be using the dirtiest day. Okay, just kidding. We will have to clean it, but I got a new piece. Stuff it up really good. Putting our knee bar on, which is our last little bit here. We did have to massage slightly to fit around the air box. Not a biggie though. And it can just go up into place now. What we've done is made this beautiful vent thing, but hey, it'll get air where it needs to go. And I am plastic welding it together. I'm thinking about plastic welding it together. And then once we get it all together here, we can go ahead and start applying Gorilla Glue epoxy. Mark 1 into Mark 2. It's ugly, but it's in a dash and it'll work. Well, I've got a mess going on here, but I'm getting all this wiring figured out. I just want to point out a couple things as I go. Most of this is pretty straightforward, and as long as you take a long time, pretty simple to figure out. One thing I've come up with is the heat and AC. So this is only a 3 level, and you have your off switch here. Well, on this one, you have 4 levels, and you turn on here. So that switch is actually located right there. And then what'll happen is you will only have 3 levels on this. So we have our key on. That goes on. And with that, obviously, we are going to have to replace that blower motor. And then our other little wire here, which is for our AC compressor, we have hooked up to the green, and when we cut it on, check this out. The signal for the fan comes on, and our compressor has signal. This thing's coming together. It's gonna be cool. I know it's... Cut this off. I know it seems kind of silly to do this to an old truck and everything, but when we drive this, we're gonna jump in it, have a modern dash. Yeah, it's not really modern, but compared to everything I'm used to driving, it's modern. And have all the amenities. That's what's gonna be. So AC, everything should work in here. I'm gonna have the radio, and it's just, this is fun. This is gonna be fun. And got the center console put in. Did have to trim up in there a little bit, but got it in place, and it's looking pretty good. We are really close on the dash here, but one of the last pieces here is obviously going to be steering wheel. For the time being, we're gonna put the Mark II steering wheel in this thing. Down the road, we may change it up. Let us know what you think about the OEM factory Mark 1.5 look per se, but it may be a good idea to put a little bit nicer, maybe a Sirocco steering wheel, a GTI steering wheel in here. But for now, this is what we have. This is what we'll put in it. Can't forget our adapter.
Yep, look straight.
It's gonna be good enough. We'll probably, huh?
Enough.
Yep. Yeah, that is not an attractive steering wheel. It's a little ergonomical, but it's good enough for now.
You ready? Oh, just pulled all the way out. Okay.
Is it a lot better?
It's a whole lot better.
Just getting that in there. So much less tinny. And we'll be making it even better because we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of sound deadening on the ceiling as well. And now we want to go ahead and get on our vapor shield. Obviously this door is not in perfect shape. We know it's going to get some moisture in it. We want to protect our door panel. Even it's not new. New ones don't exist. And so we have an old used one that's pretty good shape. But so what this is, I actually saw this on a post on one of the Volkswagen sites. This is carpet saver. You get it like your local hardware store, Home Depot, Lowe's, something like that. And this is what you put down on your carpet. Now the nice thing is this is sticky, so it'll stick right to the door panel, and it's gonna be resilient because this is something designed for foot traffic. And so this is kind of neat. You just get it on here. We can trim it up exactly how we want to. All of that addressed on both sides, that sound deadening up there and the visors, the interior really is coming together, but there's one last piece that we need to go ahead and install. She wanted a job. Does it look good? You nut. Would I love a set of original floor mats in this thing? Yes, but my goodness, people want astronomical money for those. We found these online. These are actually came from Turkey, and they're handmade, really cool little mats, turbo diesel, because of course this thing is a turbo diesel with the rabbit logo on there, and I think they really set off the interior. Super happy with how the seat came out. It's really comfortable. The ergonomics of this thing just completely changed as far as the interior goes. It much more modern feeling, but still classy. And pretty happy with how it turned out, and I hope you are too. Obviously a few little odds and ends to button up, like a headliner, some seat belts, but overall pretty happy with it. And you can see, surprisingly, the carpet actually looks pretty good. It's no longer gray, it's more of a tan, but I think that fits a lot better with the black. So kind of the tan and the black I feel like go together. Maybe something to consider down the road is black carpet in place of that. So we've got everything hooked back up, including the boost aneroid now. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I may be saying it completely wrong. Obviously it's 30 degrees this morning. It fired up pretty good, but it's rattly, it's cold. I mean, it takes an hour for this thing to get warmed up. But I want to see how this thing does power-wise now with the new pump and everything on. I am so excited. It sounds so much better. It spools a lot quicker. We went ahead and changed the oil. Got fresh oil in this thing. Oh, it's freaking semi truck. Whoa. It's not fast. Now when I say whoa, I'm thinking, you know, we couldn't go like more than 3 miles an hour not long ago in this truck. It feels good. That's probably 35. The tires are definitely noisy, but it's nothing. This thing's annoying me a little bit, squeaking, but its interior is so comfortable.
Oh my goodness.
So we are down in the bottoms here. You know, our shop is in the middle of a 400-acre farm, and there is some beautiful land down here that we are able to go trail ride a little bit and put this truck to the test, and that is what it is time for. You'll hear all the guns firing off. We're right next to the shooting range right there, so that's what all that noise is. But let's see how far you can go with just a front-wheel drive truck. This is gonna be fun. First thing, we've got a big hill here that John's about to pull up. Let's go ahead, see how it does. Big, huge hill straight up, and it is completely overgrown. And then we'll do some trailing. We plan to put it through its paces a little bit, try it. We might end up breaking it, but that's part of the fun. So this is the part we're excited for, actually getting to use, enjoy, and test these vehicles.
Okay, hold up.
It may not be a ridiculous 4x4 build. This little truck is bad fun. God, this thing's so much fun. Can you go rock crawling and swamping and mudding in a front wheel drive? Maybe, probably so. Can you go trailing and have a ton of fun in something like this? Absolutely. You might notice this truck is tagged. This is my daily driver. Super happy with the feel and the ergonomics of the vehicle now. It's comfortable. It actually, quite honestly, 65, 70 miles an hour, cruises really well. Obviously the tires are pretty noisy, but that was to be expected. But as far as actually getting up some hills and stuff in this thing, you know, that one might not look insane, but it's, I mean, the bumper scrubbing when we hit the back, it's pretty steep, and it actually does pretty well. But I hope you all have enjoyed this build to this point. Obviously there's a few little odds and ends to wrap up. We're going to build an exhaust and a couple other little things to completely dial the truck in, but overall it is ready to go. It is ready to hit the road. This thing was in a scrapyard for over 20 years, completely rotted out. The windshield was ripped off of this thing. We were able to bring it back. So don't be afraid when you see stuff like this to take it on. But that is going to wrap it up. I really hope you all have enjoyed this episode. If you have, be sure to hit the subscribe button and notification bell to keep up with builds like this, rescues, will it runs. And if you have been a subscriber and you follow along, we really do appreciate it so incredibly much. Peace out, and catch you all on the flip side.